Alright, beat me down, Scotty. Wrong universe, Scotty. It's laser time and we're gonna do a review. Yes, we're gonna review talk about movies and comics too. Let's talk about watch movies. Hello everybody, I'm LaserDude99. Welcome to another LaserDude review. So, here we are with Star Trek 3. Now, you know what? I was never much of a Trekkie. I can say that right out. If you tell me Star Trek or Star Wars, I'll say Star Wars any and every day of the week. However, I became interested in the franchise when J.J. Abrams had his Star Trek reboot franchise movie called the same name, Star Trek. I really enjoyed the first movie of the rebooted Star Trek franchise, and I thought it was a lot of fun, really into it, loved the action, loved the characters. Overall, I just thought it was a really fun film. When the second one came around, I was really excited for it, but it didn't really meet all of my expectations. If you go back and watch my review of that, I think I give it a pretty glowing review, but sometimes you don't really know how a movie makes you feel until it comes out on DVD, because when it came out on DVD, I was in no hurry to buy it, and I still haven't bought it. And I'm the type of person that I own the Green Lantern movie on DVD, so that's telling you something. Not saying it's as bad as that, I'm just saying. But anyway, I didn't really love it. I think it's fine, but there was a lot of stuff that just bugged me. Either it was characters not being as smart as I thought they should, or just the villains that didn't get a chance to be the villain throughout all of the film, or the ending, or just that thing where they get Khan's blood and it can bring people back from the dead, or that utterly butchering of the line Khan from Zachary Quinto's Spock instead of Kirk. There was just a lot of stuff that bugged me about it. So going into this film, I will say that I was going into it, I was paying my money for it, but I wasn't exactly, over the hill for it. I wasn't like, oh boy, can't wait. I was just like, okay, let's see where they go with this franchise. There's probably going to be less lens flares. So, Star Trek 3 is about how Captain Kirk and his crew, they're all on a mission, they're going through this nebula to see if they can rescue this ship, when all of a sudden they are attacked by this swarm of ships. Thousands upon thousands of ships just burst right through the Enterprise, and after a while of trying to save it, they realize, okay, we can't save it, so they have to eject everyone from the ship. There's a certain item of interest on the Enterprise that this guy named Krall wants, and so he's after it. And so Kirk gets a hold of the item, and so it's a race to find this item, and then Kirk and a bunch of the crew members get away, which a bunch of the other ones are captured and under Krall's imprisonment. And so now it's a fight to see if even though the ashes of defeat with the Enterprise on the ground destroyed, to see if they can regroup and come back as a force to fight this Krall guy and make him crawl. Sorry, I couldn't read this. So, starting from the top of my head, the majority of this stuff that I like about the franchise are still good in this film. The characters and all the acting are still good. The action is still very fun. I like how it has, that energy from the franchise. It still has that going on. The villain is actually pretty interesting. Fairly interesting. I don't want to go too far. If you ask me who's the best villain out of the franchise, well, it would have been Khan if he was able to be the villain throughout of it. Because, Benedict Cumberbatch is great, but he wasn't really the villain through most of it. So it's probably, in the level of consistency, it's, is it Kanan? No, who was it? Nero. Sorry, I forgot his name for a second. Nero's probably still the more interesting and sympathetic villain out of everyone. Ironically, the most thing that I have to say about this movie is how there's not a lot to say. I enjoyed myself fine for this movie, but there really wasn't a lot that grabbed me. However, on the flip side, there wasn't a lot of stuff that, made me mad either, like on the other film. Star Trek 2, I think, had more highs, but it also had more lows, where this one, I think, is directly in the middle throughout all of it. Captain Kirk has some good moments. There are some good moments from all the characters. There's some funny moments from all the characters. I think that one of the biggest things is just how this movie doesn't really have a consistent theme throughout of it. Kirk's going through this thing where, he's reached the age and he's a year older from where his father was when he died. So now, he's always tried to live up to his father's example and his father's image, and now he's gone to a point where he's lived past his father. And so now, what is he going to do? What does that make him? And so he's trying to find himself. Okay, that's a good theme. Finding yourself, that's a good theme for a movie. What's Spock going through? Well, he hears news that the parallel universe Spock passed away. And R.I.P. Leonard Nimoy. Oh, and I also have to acknowledge Anton Yelkin, who died in a car crash. Sorry to see him go. Great actor. I really enjoyed him in this film and in the other Star Trek films. I'm sad to see him go. But anyway, as I was saying, Spock, he's going through this thing where he realizes the older version of himself has died. So now he's kind of coming to grips with his own mortality and that he will have to die someday. And so his own death and what his life is going to have an impact. And now, does that really tie in with Kirk's thing and finding himself? Kind of, not really. I mean, they're both separate. They don't really spend a ton of time together. So it's like their stuff is different. Well, what's the villain's thing? Well, his thing is all about how living in comfort and unity does not make you stronger. Only when you struggle and go through hard times will you become stronger. It's basically saying in order to become stronger, you have to constantly always be on the attack. Does that really tie into what Spock or Kirk are going through? Not really. I mean, I don't really see how it fits. I mean, like, his whole thing where he's like, oh, unity makes you weak. Unity makes you weak, and struggle makes me strong. And that doesn't really fit in with what anybody else is really going through. I guess it could be with this other girl, Jenny? We got this girl named Jayla, who is a warrior on here. Her thing is, she's lived on this planet. Her family crashed here. She's escaped captivity and is scavenging on her own. And she comes across Kirk and his buddies and, wants them to help her so she can get off this rock. Now, she's interesting. I mean, I'm not going to say that I was blown away with her character. I think she's fun. She has some good moments, some good lines, and she plays off of the characters very well. How, the characters formally introduce themselves, like, I'm James T. Kirk, and she'll just call, okay, James T., and that's just how she'll talk to them. So she's interesting. The characters are fun and fine, but it's just nothing big, And this movie should feel big. I mean, we see the flippin' Enterprise get destroyed. But, I mean, I don't know. It's just like, why doesn't it feel big when Enterprise is destroyed, and then when it was done in, let's say, the other Star Trek 3, which is, the one where he fights Klingon Christopher Lloyd. Why does that moment, when that Enterprise feels destroyed, feel bigger? One, probably, is because as far as my knowledge, I'm not a Trekkie, by the way, as far as my knowledge, that was the first time it was destroyed. At the very least in the movies. But I think it really has to do with the lead-up, like the pacing. Like, the pacing isn't bad in this. It's not like it doesn't slow to a crawl or anything. I'm never going to get tired of that. But it's not bad pacing, but it's like the structure of that film. It all led up to, like the whole theme of no-win scenarios was all about throughout the movie, and it was all building up to it, and then when it happened, it was, it was shocking, but it felt bigger. Here, it just kind of feels like, Enterprise is destroyed, can't wait until they get a new one at the end of this film. Because that's what's going to happen. When they got a new one at I guess it wasn't the end of that film, it was the end of the next film, but when they got a new one, it felt like, wow, okay, alright, yeah. I didn't think that was going to happen, but okay, we're here, like, yeah, I just kind of figured. Nothing in this film really grabs me, but nothing in this film irritates me. It's just a serviceable film with some really good moments. There are some good moments. Kirk has some good moments where he's trying to figure stuff out. He has some couple of good trickery scenes. He still gets his butt kicked in a fist fight for just once. I'd like Kirk to win a fist fight in just a regular fist fight. He always gets his butt kicked. That's like a theme of these movies. Anytime Kirk's in a fist fight, he gets his butt kicked and something else happens that allows him to live. Also, some of the character building could have been better. I mean, like, there's this whole thing, like, the whole thing with this white kid, this white chick, Jayla, is that she, you know, she talks about how, like, oh, Krull's second-in-command, Manners, I think his name was, you know, killed my father and everything. But that's kind of just thrown out there. I'm like, oh, he has a second-hand man? I thought that was just another one of his villains, you know, his thugs. You know, I didn't realize that was an actual character. You could have built that up more, you know? This movie kind of just zooms by everything and just doesn't let anything sink in, you know? We're never allowed to let the villain sink in and do stuff as a villain. He just moves on and does the next villainous thing that he could find. I think that in the end, Star Trek 3, or Star Trek Beyond, I believe it is nothing beyond average. You know, okay, it's a little beyond average, I say, you know, because I still enjoyed myself. I had fun. But it's not a movie that I'm, like, going to come back to it over and over again like the first one, you know? If somebody was to say, hey, you want to watch Star Trek Beyond? I haven't seen it yet. I'd be like, yeah, sure, pop it in. But if someone would say, oh, we got a bunch of movies here, Star Trek Beyond, Captain America, Civil War, or, you know, a bunch of other movies, you know, I'm just saying I'd pick something else before I would go to this one. If somebody said, you want to watch a Star Trek movie, this wouldn't be on the top of the list, but it wouldn't be on the bottom of the list. So if you're a Trekkie or a guy who's just interested in Star Trek, I think you'll enjoy the movie fine. I think you'll like it well enough, and maybe you'll like it more than I did. I just think that it could have used a little bit more, maybe another redraft to have the themes tie into each other a little bit better, because I really felt like every one of the characters was doing their own thing, and none of them tied into each other. Maybe Kirk's and Spock's do, but I don't feel like they do. You know, they could have done a little bit more to make it more natural. But hey, there's still plenty of good action, there's all those characters that we enjoy, and you know what, the villain's not bad. It's not great, and it takes a weird turn at the end, which, sure, I wasn't expecting, but I don't really feel feels natural. It kind of is like a quick turn, and I'm like, okay, there you go. And the ending, I don't want to give it away, but I don't know, because since I'm not a Trekkie, I don't know what the bar we're reaching at here. I don't know if the ending, the way they defeat the bad guy, is too silly. Because it could be silly. It's silly, a little silly. But I don't know if it's on the level of Star Trek silly. You know, Star Trek can get silly. Everything in the sci-fi universe can get a little silly, but it also can get serious. But I don't know if the way they defeat the bad guy is on the level of Star Trek silly, or if it's just, maybe it's too silly. I don't know. That's not up to me. That's going to be up to you. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to give Star Trek Beyond a 6 out of 10. This is, it's a serviceable film. It's fun. I like it. I don't love it. I just like it. I think it's fun. If somebody says, oh, did you see Star Trek Beyond? What do you think about it? I think it's pretty good. Pretty good. It's an average film. Above average film. It's an above average film. That's what I gave it. 6 out of 10. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm LazyD99, and I still haven't got up a new catchphrase. May your lasers be bright and your movies be better. I don't know. That's, I'm out. See ya. Be sure to check out more of my other videos on my channel, and wait for more coming soon.